Well, I just want to say a happy new year. Well, first of all, I got to say happy new year to the original Coach Carter. And happy new year, Coach Carter. How you doing?
Happy New Year. Doing really, thank you. Glad 18 is gone, and now we can start dealing with 2019.
Alrighty then. Well, happy new year to everyone from Youth Central Sports Charles Morse with the original Coach Carter, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. right here at www.youthcentralsports.com. Also, we're live on Twitter, Facebook, and Periscope. So with that being said, we're bringing in a new year. And did you guys have any games over the past week or so there in the wonderful state of Tennessee?
We did. We were in a holiday tournament, and we won one and lost two. A little disappointed that I really thought we had a great chance at least coming out minimum 2-1. But got a few days off, got into the new year, and then we'll go back to practice tomorrow. We got a game on Tuesday. So we're right back in the hunt, right back in 13-4. Which is not bad for the first half, but we really should be 15-2. But that's okay. You know, every coach will tell you that. It's two got away. But
okay.
Overall, I'm very pleased with what we're doing.
Okay. Now, did you do anything exciting for the New Year's? Did you go hang out?
I did what I traditionally do. I slept. I don't do too much anymore over this time, particularly over that time period coming into the new year. Don't do much, so I kind of just took it easy, watched a little TV, look at some Netflix, had some snacks, called it a night.
Yeah, I was told to look at a movie on Netflix called Bird Box. Have you heard about that one?
I have heard about it. I have not seen it yet, but I've been hearing an awful lot of conversation about it.
Yeah, I saw that one, and about a few minutes ago, I saw another one called A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place, which is kind of similar to the Bird Box in a sense. So there's two of them. There's the Bird Box and A Quiet Place, and they're both similar, and I just leave it at that. So you have to watch it and see if you like it for yourself. So
I will definitely do it.
So if you take a look at it, let me know, and then we can start a new session on Youth Central Sports, which is called Movie Critique. We can critique the movie. So
did you ever get to the movies to see Widows?
You know what? That's a movie that I probably will see the next time you and I will do the show. I probably will have seen it by then.
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. One of the few that I like. They got Vice out now, talking about Vice President Cheney. That I find that interesting. Some of the trailers on that have been interesting. Aquaman, that kind of stuff, you know.
Right.
Kind of interesting stuff. I'm going to movies this weekend. I'm going to go check them all, try to see as many as I can this weekend.
Okay. Well,
I get a senior citizen discount.
Okay. You might as well take advantage of it. Hey,
Yeah,
that's why it's there. Hey,
exactly. I earned it. They're not giving me anything. I earned it.
there you go. Question. Have you been bowled out? Was there any particular bowl that you watched that you liked, or any particular ones that you was making sure that you was going to be in front of the television?
No, I did want to see UCF play. I did get a chance to see that. I wanted to see Texas and Oklahoma, and the rest of them is just a matter of whatever came on I would look at. Those two, besides the national champion playoff games against with Clemson and Notre Dame and Oklahoma and Alabama. The rest of those, I think I saw a little bit of each and every one. Just enjoyed kind of watching that a little bit. Really surprised at I was surprised LSU, UCF. I thought UCF there for a minute. We're going to be able to pull that out. Really surprised that Georgia, and that really surprised. It should not have been a surprise, but for me, it was a surprise because I expected Georgia to be more dominant than they were.
Okay.
I think
Well,
UCF
well,
gave a real good effort, but disrespecting a lot of people were saying, making discouraging comments about. But UCF business, I mean, they're 25-1. They played a good LSU team. They were ranked above them. It was a good LSU team. They have not had the kind of year they had the year before when they were undefeated defensively. And I think that showed up against you. But still, you got to give the school a lot of credit. And they got to a bowl game. One, they came to undefeated. And then they lost to a pretty good football team.
okay. Well, let's go over the Clemson Notre Dame game first. Did you see that game at all? Clemson and Notre Dame?
So just a small portion of it. Kind of surprised a little bit. I expected a little bit more from Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
But the good ball club. I mean, I know they were missing some kids, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but they believe in that next man. That's exactly what happened.
Okay. Oklahoma and Alabama. Oh, that was, well, anyway, we'll talk about that later. The fact that they were, every year this always comes up about whether or not Notre Dame was not should have been Ohio State, because it just amazes me that sports is sports, and it is what it is, and for some odd reason we want the perfect game. Every game we want the perfect game, and that has never been sports. That will never be sports, and that's my whole point of what I always try to say. Sports is sports. It's the highs, the lows, and like I said, you just never know how the stars are going to line up that night for that game and for whom, and so on and so forth. And that's what makes sports terrific, because sometimes the least person that you expect end up having the game of their life. You'd be like, well, it's just like, wow. And so that's what sports is. And so I don't know what's wrong with us when we see a game and it don't turn out the way that we think that it should, in the sense of, as long as they're being competitive on the field and they're giving the effort, that's what sports is. But
it's about favorites, though. It's about wanting your team to outperform the other team. And I think where competitiveness comes in, the rivalries that you have, the opposition that you have, you always what you hope for in bowl games, a very competitive game.
Right.
I watched some games where I didn't care about either team, but what got me to watching it was the competitiveness of the game.
Right.
Which I enjoyed the part. And obviously, when I watch the team that I like, I want them to do well, and I really want them to do well. But I'm still looking for that competitive game where you can't always predict the outcome of it right away. And I think both in Clemson's game and Alabama, they started out kind of slow and then they start pulling away. So that's what makes it interesting to some degree, is that you anticipate that your team will win, but they still got to play the game. Right. And that's what makes it interesting.
Okay. The Oklahoma-Alabama game, I think what happened was Oklahoma came out and hit them dead smack in the face. And it took them a little time to get up off the canvas a little bit, because they were staggering, they was a little wobbly. When they finally, got their feet, on them, they started to play a little better. But I think that opening few minutes, they got punched in the face, and it took them a while to kind of get themselves together. But it ended up being a much better game than the Clemson and the Notre Dame game.
Well, one of the things too, now if you're looking at Alabama throughout the year, they have not. One of the things that you can say, this is a different Alabama team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, than it was last year, and they showed that during the seasons. They got hit a couple of times, but they were able to bounce back, and that's the strength of that team. You're going to have to put them away, and you have to do it early, because if you allow them to stay in the mix, they're going to find a way to win. So I think that's what happened. But it is showing that they're not as strong or as they were last year. Now, offensively, they seem to be just as strong, if not stronger. I think on the defensive side of the ball, they seem to be a little. They've had some gaps, they've had some slow points, but once they get it together, so I think your point is well taken. They got smacked, but they came right back. I mean, anyway, it took them a minute to get their feet up on them, and here they come. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting to see how, because I don't think Clemson has had the same kind of year that they had the year before either as a team. And then they got some kids suspended. It's just different. So it's going to be a different matchup. Same team. By the time well, it's the same team. Yeah, but their personalities are different.
Right. Now,
I
I
mean,
did not
you got,
see. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
now, John, we were talking. I heard these guys talking about this afternoon, which I think point. You got Saban against a freshman quarterback, and this freshman quarterback over at Clemson has had a great year. Really has done some really fabulous stuff. But you've given Saban a week to sit down and plan for this guy. He's still a freshman quarterback. I don't care how well he's still a freshman. Played a good scheme, won some good games, but you got the number one or number however you want to classify coming in. It's going to be different. And he won't perform well, but it's going to be different for him. This would
Right.
really kind of tell you a little bit more about him. This is one of Saban's strong points. You give him time to plan for you. It's always a problem when you let him plan.
I did not see. I went fishing yesterday, so I didn't see any of the UCF LSU game. I didn't see any of it at all. I did think that LSU. I would have been shocked if UCF had beat LSU. I really did think that LSU was going to win that game. I don't know if the injured quarterback, the hurt quarterback. I don't because I didn't see the game. I don't know if he would have made a difference in this game. You know,
I
I'm
think
not.
obviously anytime you got your starters on the field, you definitely got an advantage over any game. And although you got a very accomplished and capable backup, is you got a guy. You don't have your regular quarterback under center. I thought the backup did a good job. In terms of him, he threw some great passes, a couple of real good touchdowns, ran the ball, but it was not the same with the other quarterback. However, the greatest disparity was on the defensive side of the ball. That's where they had the most problem. And in looking at UCF this year, that's one of the things you look back. They've given up a lot of points. They've been able to
Hmm.
outscore the other guy, but they've given up a lot of points. And I think against LSU, that came back to bite them. But I look at it from that standpoint, they lost the game. But what a great recruiting tool! 25-1, played in a bowl game. Can you imagine the number of kids that now want to go to UCF? So I
Yeah.
think it's a win.
Yeah. That
Win.
was one of the things that I wanted to ask you because I did hear one of the sports station here talking about the recruiting when it comes to now, which I think we had talked about it, a few weeks ago. When it comes to, well, I want to take a look at Miami. I want to take a look at FSU. I want to take a look at Florida. I want to take a look at Georgia. But hey, wait a minute. There's also South Florida and there's also UCF. So, and then, we were talking about, I forgot Florida. They was trying to schedule something with Florida to possibly play UCF, and it looks like Florida didn't want to play them. So
Well, here's the challenge I think you face. UCF is going, in order to be able to get the elite athlete, they need to play at the level they want to play. You're going to have to step it up from where they are. They're going to have to come out of this car, go into the SEC or wherever they want to go, so that you can now recruit that athlete. Because some of those athletes that are available, they don't want to play on the UCF at that level of ball. They want to play at a much higher level. Now they're going to have to step it up, and then they compete for a lot of those kids, and then it will be a recruiting battle. They got a great. You can't argue. They play hard, and they were in the game for a while. They got a lead and took care of it and kept adding to it. So real positive for the team. Obviously, you wanted them to win. I wanted them to win. I thought it was an uphill battle. I thought it would be close a couple of times. I thought they were getting ready to pull it out. But nevertheless, it is a moral victory for the school to be able to at that level go in and play a decent game, and then have to reconsider about stepping up to a different conference. But still, it's going to help them recruiting together.
Mm-hmm. I heard them talking, talk about Urban Meyer last game, Urban Meyer last game, Urban Meyer last game. They was driving me crazy, like, oh my goodness, just like, woo, is this man God or what? But and I like Urban Meyer. He has been successful every way he's coached. But and that's what I mean sometimes with us and that whole driven media and the hype. But I think now that he's been hired to work in the athletic department. I think that's what I saw on the Tinker there.
Something in that area of athletics. He said most likely he will not coach a game. He didn't say absolutely, but he was like 90% sure this is my last game. Now, he does have some health issues as well that may be more prevalent in him than we're giving credit due to serious health issues. And I do think the stress of some of those issues that he went through played a big part of that, and also in addition to his health issues. Excuse me, and that may have helped him make that decision. And it may be better to step down now and get out than to hang around and then have some more allegations or something come. Just go ahead and you can go back and teach, and he still be around the sport. He just won't be coaching it. At least that's what he's saying.
When I think about Urban Meyer, I mean, with his success, because he was very successful at Florida, because and then he won the title at Ohio State, and with that, I just wonder, because all of us are different, Vince, in how we handle the stress, just our genetic makeup, and maybe because he's still basically a young guy. But maybe because of his genetics and how he approached the game mentally, emotionally, he's just one of these people where his body doesn't. If you was put in the same scenario, under the same circumstances, then you probably would respond differently under the stress. So apparently,
Again,
whatever that is in his mind, and not that it's not real, it's a concern. It's just that he's a very good coach. And it's just sad that he's having those health issues, under the circumstances.
Yeah, and those issues may not be directly with stress, because stress in itself, 90% of the time, creates other problems, and it just may be saying, "Listen, why risk it when you're in a good spot? Call it a day so you can enjoy the rest of your life."
Right.
But without a doubt, he'll be involved. You look at Larry Brown. Larry Brown was 70-something years old. There, but he's still coach. He's coached high school, college, pro, and all over. And then I see Rick Pitino is now taking a job overseas as well. Probably the only place he'll be able to work, in my opinion. But these guys keep doing it, man. It wouldn't surprise me if Urban Meyer comes back, but maybe not at that level. Maybe at a different level. It wouldn't surprise me, but according to him right now, this is it.
Wow. Texas and Georgia, now see, and that's what I mean by the essence of sports and what sports is. Now, Georgia, you would have thought was maybe in the top 5 enlisted as far as teams in the top 5. I would say the top 5.
Well,
maybe even number 3, I guess. He could, but in the top 5, and then they just come out and Texas just basically slapped them dead in the face.
I mean, that's what sport is about. It's preparation. Everybody gets to prepare. Everybody gets to concentrate, and you get time to go out. You just don't know what kind of execution you're gonna get every day. Hopefully, I think one of the things that's fascinating about Alabama and a Clemson right now is the amount of consistency they get from their players on a consistent basis. every down they're getting almost the best that they can get from that play and that player. And I think that's the difference when other schools that like Georgia performed very well. What happened? And they had good practices, from what I understand. But you got out and you got outman, you got outplayed, and all those things you can't account for. But I think on the front side, it's a lot of preparation and how you prepare, mental status, focus, all those things, and then it all comes down to when you kick that ball off. Where are they? Where are they? Where's their head? And you can't always predict that. I think certainly you can do a lot to have an effect on that, and you've got to give Clemson and Alabama a nod for that because they've been able to keep their kids focused and keep them on task about getting the job done. Despite that, maybe the numbers are not. They've had great seasons. Don't get me wrong, and they're comparing them to last season, both of those teams, and how different they are, and that's to be expected. But nevertheless, they got to go out there and get it done, and they're getting it done. Case in point, look at Kentucky. They went out there and got beat up. University of Kentucky, Calipari and them came out there, wasn't struggling. All of a sudden, they're on a roll right now. So you can't say. I mean, it's hard. That's what makes sports so interesting. Who should win doesn't always win, and that one that should not win is not always the one that doesn't win. So that's what makes it. That's why we compete.
Well, that's always my argument when they come up with this theory about how they pick these bowl. I mean, how they pick who should be in. But anyway, the Alabama Clemson game you spoke on it earlier. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction. I'm just asking you what you think of the game overall. I mean, you kind of went over it earlier, but it's next Monday. What you expecting to see?
It should be very competitive, but I just their styles are a little bit different, yet they're the same, if you will. Defensively, I think that's where the game is going to be played. How well will Alabama disguise and affect that young quarterback, and whether or not their veteran Tua will be ready to go. Now, he looked pretty good the other day. He'll now have another several days of rest and treatment on that, and he'll come out. And if he's playing well against Clemson, I really think it'll be a close game, but I really think Alabama will pull it out.
The funny thing is that they asked him after the game about his ankle, the Alabama quarterback. They asked him about his ankle, and you can tell by his answer that it was still a concern for him. But I thought
absolutely.
What I thought was that at the beginning of that game, none of the Oklahoma made any attempt to go after that ankle. I just thought that was interesting to me. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, if they had done that, in my opinion on that, if that's your game plan, you'll get your brains beat in.
Well, what I'm saying is that you don't. I mean, you. When I say go after the ankle, you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But I'm saying the same way the offensive line is aware of the fact that I got to protect my quarterback, and we know that he's gimpy, if you will, for lack of anything else. You got extra protection, and because they know they're coming after him.
Well, I was talking about when they did make a tackle on him or something like that. When they did get to him is what I'm talking about. When they did touch him is what I'm talking about.
But see, that's what I'm saying. If you focusing just on doing that to him, he's gonna hurt you in a different way. And he's a big boy. He's big when he runs hard. He really runs hard. So it's not quite that easy to do it legally. Now, I would have not been surprised if we'd have had some illegal activity going targeting this young man's ankle. That's what I thought we may have seen, and that I don't think I saw.
Right.
I really saw people trying to figure out how can we win this game rather than focus on him. And he played pretty good to me. I mean, he did the job.
Oh yeah. I wanted to get I wanted to get to the NFL
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. I wanted, I wanted to get to the, oh, I wanted to get to the NFL playoff, and I apologize. I should have turned my phone on silent. But
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you before we get to the actual play. I wanted to ask you. Remember last week I told you I wanted to talk about Josh Gordon, and
Mm-hmm.
I've heard different people say different things. But before we get into the NFL and the playoffs, I want to just I want people to know that you have worked in that field for a very long time. And you've seen a lot of things from rich people to all kind of people come through
Yeah.
the different programs that you've been involved in on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, there's always the talk of George Gordon. His problem is evident that's bigger than football, bigger than the game. Then it
Mm-hmm.
always goes back to the game. I mean, no matter how you talk about it, no matter whoever says what they say, and they want him to get well, and had opportunity, and he went from the Cleveland, but now he's in New England. So it's like, who has not worked out in New England? You with the New England Patriots, but can you kind of give us an insight on addiction? Vince, can
Yeah.
you give us a little snippet on addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever it is? Because for us on the outside, you and I would love the opportunity. But I mean, you and I are a little older, so our perspective, but even at that time and that age in our lives, in the sense of the opportunity, you have reached the pinnacle. You're on the highest level of your
Mm-hmm.
profession. This day and time, because we always look at the money. It's always come down to look at the money, the opportunity, and you've given a chance, you've given a chance, and you've given a chance. Some go, well, he let the team down. Some go, is this and that. But it's bigger than that, because we're talking about issues and problems that evidently started in his childhood and his family. We can't relate sometimes because all we do is that we look at the money and the opportunity and the spotlight and where he is, and life still goes on. People are still people. The money does not change you. The job does not change you. It probably even enhance more who you are. So again, can you kind of just give us an insight of addiction and something that we might be able to better understand?
It's very difficult to put it in that simple, but here's an attempt. It's the elephant in the room. It's the one thing that you do not have control over. It's the one thing that you try very much to control, but the triggers are the things that you can't control. It's like knowing that stove is hot, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to not get burned by it while I go ahead and play with the stove. It's almost that simple, but it's far more complex than that. It's trying. It's that overwhelming urge that's pushing you that you know I shouldn't, but I'm almost comfortable with it. I need that adrenaline. It's like a friend. It's like that's what an addiction is. It's something that you're so comfortable with. No matter what happens, that's where you go. And now we're trying to, one of the biggest problems I've always felt is understanding the triggers, understanding what causes that panic, what causes that anxiety, and what causes that need for you to reach out to whatever that addiction is. And so you try to find barriers to hide that trigger or from you so you can't see it. You try to find ways to eliminate it, but a lot of time it's not dealt with directly. We deal with the surface. Like I've always said, a lot of time we deal with the addiction, but we don't deal with why are you addicted, or why did you choose this particular addiction, if you will. Like, for instance, if it's alcohol, why do you drink this specific alcohol? What is the trigger that drives you to that? And Charles is and in this country, we don't do a real good job of mental health. We deal with mental health from a standpoint of let's try to make it go away, as opposed to let's try to cure it. Let's try to find a way to eliminate it as best we can. And some people do a real good job of hiding it. They
Right.
have learned how to hide their anxiety. Most people, if you listen to them, and when they finally tell it, they didn't want anyone to know because they feel embarrassed, they feel weak, they feel singled out, they feel like I don't want everybody to know I have this weakness. And I believe that one of the things is to the greatest benefit is to be able to share it with somebody, a genuine person that want to hear it. Because a lot of times I need to get it out. I need to talk about it. I need to see that elephant. I don't want the elephant to just be in the room. I need to be able to see the elephant in the room. And that way I got a better way of dealing with it. I don't know if I did a good job of explaining that, but that's what they're dealing with in football, the demands of your job, your family, if you're playing a sport, especially at that level. Those demands help you kind of mask that addiction for a while. I remember listening to, and I can't remember this young man's name right now. He was saying that doing football, it helped him so much doing practice and games. But when he went home, he was a nervous wreck. He was afraid of everything, but you never saw that on the field. The field, when he went to practice, he got involved with his teammates and stuff. It gave him a certain amount of comfort. What he was afraid of was going home alone. And he happened to be married. And then, so his family, going to his family, he felt weak in front of them. He really kind of put a barrier up. It was tough. Finally, he started talking about it. And he started trying to explain it. And then he was able to get treatment and said that it had gotten better. It's rampant. It's far more involved than we know. You hear it in football, basketball. You hear a little bit of it in baseball. It's human nature. Think of the
Uh,
number of people who are walking around suffering from that depression, addiction to something that's not talking about it.
right.
It's a lot of them. It's an awful lot of them. And they come from all walks of life. I mean, I have confidentially been involved with lawyers, high profile lawyers that are suffering from addictions of one kind or another. I've dealt with prominent people that I could call names that you would probably know. Never, ever imagined that they would be suffering from those kinds of situations. So mental health is tough. And most of the time we do, because of the way we respond to it, most people are not forthcoming. They don't talk about it very much. I've had a chance to sit in on group settings and to hear people's explanation for why they didn't tell anybody. It's fearful. They're fearful how they're going to be judged, how people will react to them. And we do react that way. We put them in a special category
Oh yeah.
where
Yeah.
yeah, we isolate, we ostracize them, we isolate them. And then, and young kids, man, kids don't mean no harm, but they pick at you when you're a little bit different. And a lot of these kids have had some of these issues and they've grown into adults with this not having been addressed. And now he's got all this money, he's got a big old house, and he's got all those things that look like he would make him so happy, and he's depressed every day.
Right. Yeah.
Depressed every day. And sometimes the more you have, the more depressed you become because you got more to be depressed about, in essence.
Yeah. And again, something from his childhood, and then when you say triggers, I understand what that means. Some people may not understand the term.
It's those things, yeah, those triggers is just like alcoholism or drug addiction. There's that triggers that one thing that makes you go to that spot. Like some people feel inadequate, they're frightened, they're afraid of certain situations. So to feel comfortable, I go to my addiction. That's whether that's alcohol, chain smoking,
Right.
drugs, or whatever. That's their comfort zone. And they run there. So something triggers that. It could be something that's said, something that's done, a situation, something, and they run to that spot to deal with that. And it becomes that's how the addiction, because that's my comfort zone. That's where I go for safety, if you will. I can hide from it in at least that's the way I perceive it in using it. So there's a trigger. It could be an argument. It depends on the individual.
Oh,
Brad,
and all of us would like to understand whether or not it's Josh Gordon, whomever, because
Hmm.
of our perspective that we have on lives on our lives in this country and our culture. We like to assume happiness are these things. We like to associate happiness and the standard of life and the way you should live is how we put out there about this culture in our society. Because if you live here and if you live this way, that way, and it proves every day that we're wrong, because each person, and I was just having this conversation when I was in Miami with someone about them trying to force their will upon somebody. And just because you like it this way and you associate yourself with this as a success, everybody does not have your value system and everybody does not see things the way that you do. And what you like, somebody else may not like, so on and so forth. But overall, when we see what we see as far as success, then we like to associate it with, well, like for an example, I give you an example of what I mean by how screwed up we are. We will, in our culture, in our society, Vince, we will talk about the success of an athlete. We will talk about his achievement and we will praise him, he or she. But he could be the lousiest husband, the lousiest father that there is. He could have the drug addictions and perform, and he could win a Super Bowl. But he could be like one of the worst persons you ever want to meet. But because he won at his craft and he has a ring, he's considered a success. Dennis Rodman is a perfect example of somebody that I can pick out that I admired his effort. I admired his determination on the basketball court. He was phenomenal. But you take him off the basketball court, put him in the arena of being a father to his daughter, on a scale from 1 to 10, he's probably a -1. And he'll tell you that he's not a good father. But he's excellent on the basketball court. But in the sense of the things that should matter in the sense of family and purpose and so, and I'm not picking, I'm just using him as an example of our culture and how we are. And so when we see somebody like him, Josh Gordon, and it's very difficult to try to understand, because what are those triggers and why those triggers are so strong? Because we're going to always take it back to his performance on the field and his money, not his life, not his struggles, not his
Well,
challenges.
you
It's
have to look at him, but he's being looked at as an athlete. And when we look at athletes, particularly the professional athletes, we look at them a little bit different. I don't think I think we have to look at the total person, but however, we look at them as athletes. And you talked about them being good at their craft, which is what they do. So our first evaluation is that, because that's all we really see about them. Now, other people who are unrelated to the sport would look at them probably in a different way, because sport does not ring a bell for them. They're looking at character. In the NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, soccer, they're all trying to challenge these guys about their moral behavior, their moral. That's why you see so much about domestic violence now. They're saying that, we've got to do a better job of dealing with those issues, because those are human issues. Those are not athlete issues. Those are everyday human issues, and athletes are human beings, and they need to be judged that way. Triggers come from all kinds of things. It's fear. It's the fear of success. It's the fear of not succeeding. It's the fear of competition. I'm gonna be better. This guy's better than me. The pressure, all those things, and everybody has. And it's hard sometimes to put a finger on a trigger, especially if this guy is not sharing, or this person is not sharing with you. So look at them for what we perceive them to be, which is all that we really can look at. Um, we don't, you look at. I've heard athletes say, "Well, I'm not anybody's hero." Well, it depends on who you're talking to, because it's not a part of your job description. But the league that you play in, they do want you to act in a particular kind of way, a
right.
respectful kind, that can that sets a precedent for what we're about. Now, what
Right.
happens after, we don't know, because they can't control that. That's why now when you see that come out, and they're immediately, because of some of the critical incidences that have happened at Urban Meyer thing, going all the way back to Hernandez, not and not to mention the assistant coach, those kind of things, they're addressing that now. That's why Rick Pitino's not coaching.
Right.
Some issues there, because we've got to address that, because that's human nature.
Hmm.
Yes, he or she is an athlete and a professional athlete, which is at the highest level of what they can do, but they're still human beings.
Yeah.
But it's hard to help that
Right.
won't let you.
Right.
And most of these people, what I say is about this all the time, they're professional, not only in their craft, but in their behavior as well. They've learned how to mask it. They've learned how to keep it. Even family members sometimes don't know, because they're not sharing it with them. They're not talking about it. And what you want to do is try to create an environment where they can express themselves, so I can hear what it is that you're challenged with, and we can start trying to work toward relieving that. Most of these guys, if you really look into it, they're not sharing. They're not talking about it. And I know the NFL has tried its best. I know the NBA has a program where they offer it, but they're offering it and they're saying, "Hey guys, we can help you." I know businesses, even in the school system, they got programs for teachers under stress or whatever in the corporate world. And those programs are only as good as people who will get involved in them. They
Right.
have to come and you got to come and say, "Listen, man, I need help, man. I'm under so much stress, whether it be from debt, whether it be from unorganized, whatever, but be the situation, the anxiety that I have about my job, the anxiety. I mean, it's just, the list is endless.
Yeah.
And
I
sometimes it's very private
yeah, I
as to what
can
their triggers.
yeah, I can share a couple of things with you. I'll try to make this short, but there was a time when people that I was close to, how can I say this? The people that I was close to was actually selling drugs, basically in the backyard of where I grew up.
Mhm.
And it had gotten to be really, really bad. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. But Vince, the the traffic had gotten so bad that they used to have drug rallies. The neighborhood would have drug rallies in front of my mom's house because of the activities. So when I would pull up, when I would come visit from Orlando, and I would come visit, and I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting in my car getting ready. As I pull up, I'm just looking for stuff before I get out. And I can't tell you how many times people knocked on my window thinking that I was part of that selling drugs. And I'm telling you the story because you had all kinds of people of life knocking on my window. I'm talking about white people. I'm talking about lawyers. I'm talking about all kind of professional people, traffic, that you would be shocked coming into the hood, who drove the Mercedes and all this. And I say that because you had the other people too, but you had the white collar, you had all kind of nationalities knocking on the window, asking me like, "No, just no, that's right over there, man. No." But I say that to verify what you were saying. It's in all facets of life. And one of my friends who I was very close to, who was a school teacher, had gone and was a very good teacher, and had become very close to her, Vince. And she had gotten hooked on crack,
Mhm.
and Orange County School Board sent her to rehab 3 times, on 3 different occasions, 3 times. And I finally just had to cut her loose, Vince, because I was trying to go to rehab with her. I was trying to be supportive. And she just told me straight up, she looked with me, she said, "Charles, I just can't kick it. I just can't kick it, Charles. I just can't kick it." And then eventually she did. But I say that in reference to just trying to say what you were saying, whatever those triggers are, all facets of life and different people and circumstances and situations. I've seen it myself now. I may not understand it, but I've seen it. So
It's real, and I think a lot of people who are not. I've had it in my own family, and I've seen it up close and personal. I've seen it draw people make decisions they ordinarily would not make in favor of that drug or that addiction or whatever that be. Depression is just as bad. It's very quiet. It's hidden, just like in you hear a lot of athletes talking about being depressed, which is a form. It's another one of those issues that we deal with, and it doesn't matter who. I mean, because I think you look at athletes. A lot of athletes are very good at their craft, and sometimes that's the only thing they're good at.
Right.
Socially, they're inept. They don't know how to do nothing, but they can play that sport. They
Right.
can do that at an exceptional level. But think about what that has been like over life. They've neglected a lot of things to perfect this craft. At some point in time, that comes back to you because
Right.
you can't play the game forever. You've got to step away from it and become a quote unquote normal human being in society. They aren't prepared for that. They so much goes into the craft, and they depend so much on the craft. The craft is their lifeline, and they give everything to it. Um, and it's what keeps them going. And then when you take it away from them, they don't have any place to go. So now they're crashing even harder then, because they've been dealing with this for a number of years. I worked with a guy who was an alcoholic for 25 years. Nobody knew it.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. And the only reason I knew is because he finally told me. He said, I'm an
Right.
alcoholic. And I thought he was joking. And he said, no, I have a serious, but he learned how to manage it so nobody would see it.
Right.
Nobody
Yeah.
knew. You
And that's the thing, Vince. But and every time I tell somebody this, and I'll share this with you, and it's funny because I think I shared it with Ken about like a year and a half ago. But all of my life, I really have suffered on a very high level of depression. But people
Mhm.
tell me that that I cover it up. Nobody knows. And every time I tell somebody, they look at me like, you're making it up. But I've
See, we don't
always
know.
suffered from depression to a point where it has really been a problem
Mhm.
that people just have no idea. So I understand the depression part. You know. So
Well, see,
yes.
you take depression now, and then you take a way to relieve yourself from that. That's where other addictions come in. It
Hmm.
relieves it's the temporary relief from what the depression is or what you perceive it to be. So that trigger would be that pressure that triggers your depression that causes you to use that whatever else
Right.
that helps you relieve it. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be food. You got some people that exercise profusely. They 24 hours a day because they're running from something, and
Right.
this is what they use. Here's the thing that's amazing, and you just said it. Nobody walks around with a stick on their head saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm an alcoholic,
Right.
or I am a drug abuser, or I'm suffering from depression." Nobody
Right.
says that because, in essence, they don't think that they are.
Mm.
And when they do define it or come to some reason, they don't want anybody to know
Right.
because our society does not look very well on it. And I think we are getting better, but still there's a lot of fear in coming admitting to someone, I am one of these addictions or I have this,
Right.
whatever it may be. And it's very difficult to deal with. I think the biggest thing we can do is try our best to put a reaching hand so we can try to help people with their situations and see if we can get them some help or some programs or just sometimes just a listening ear means an awful lot to a person in some of these. I mean, when you got drugs and alcohol involved,
Right.
that's a real challenge. Now,
It,
depression is no different. It's just as bad because sometimes just talking to them is not enough.
oh no.
You,
Trust me.
but it
If
starts,
if I was to sit here
yeah.
and tell you the challenges that you face from the depression, you would be
Oh, yeah.
shocked in the sense of
No,
no, no, no,
I
no,
would
no, no,
because
no. I meant in the sense
a little
of
bit.
people don't know. I'm saying that people
Yeah.
don't know that you go through what you go through, and people would be shocked and go, "Really? You?"
Oh,
And
yeah.
they just have no idea. If I were to sit here and tell them my everyday challenges that you face waking up or even going to bed at night, they would be like,
Mhm.
"You?" Be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
I had a
But
good friend of mine.
luckily, for myself, like I've never been high. I've never been drunk because I don't use drugs, and I don't drink. But
Mm.
but I understand how it can be used as an escape, though. That part I do
It's
understand.
and there are other tools. They don't always have to be that in order to be escape either. It could be why do people get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and clean the houses? They
Right.
just go to it's nervous energy. They say, yeah, but it's more to it than that.
Right.
I
Oh
had
yeah.
a friend that a guy was as loud as you would ever want to see. I mean, he was laughing 24/7. And soon as he got home, away from everybody, he was frightened to death. Just absolutely, you would sweat, sitting in a corner somewhere, just scared of life, just absolutely afraid that life was just going to bop. But you see him the next morning, he laughs all day. He's a funny man. He makes you laugh. I mean, he's always got his hands out to reach it and help. But he go home, he's a nervous. I mean, he was just frightened of life, and it really got so bad that fortunately someone observed him, and finally they got him to open up a little bit, and he started getting treatment to try to. I mean, you never would have guessed that. I mean, you looked at him and he's like, man, this guy's got everything. I mean, I mean, whatever success markers you use, he had.
Right.
But he was in absolute fear. Child, when I tell you, fear. I mean, the type of fear that numbs you. That every day, every single day. I can't imagine that.
Wow.
Going home every night, that from night to morning was the worst time in the world for him. And I don't know that anybody ever really could determine what it was. Now it goes back a ways with him, and there were some family issues, some social issues that brought that on. But you never, I mean, even when he started getting treatment, the therapist told him was just numb. He said, I can't believe this. And you've
Wow.
been doing this for over 20 years. You should be almost insane by now.
Yeah.
But he had learned to deal with it, learned to manage it. It was a nightly routine. It was unbelievable.
Mm. All right. Some good information there, Vince.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the fact, and I will say this: the fact that he or she's an athlete does not shield them from this. It may give them an opportunity to cover it, but it doesn't shield them from it.
Right. Right. You ready for your 3 minute sprint?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Question number one for you. The last time you put up a Christmas tree?
6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Best New Year's Eve party you ever been to?
Wow, that was about 10 years ago. We accidentally had one at my house. It wasn't intended to be, but we stumbled on. I mean, it was just totally by accident. People came by, they were on their way somewhere else, and they came by to holler at me. And we got to chit-chatting and ended up being one of the best parties we ever had.
All right. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
No,
No. All right.
no, no.
The last New Year's resolution that you stuck to?
I haven't stuck to any yet. I've been 8 months in and then fell off the wagon. I've been 9 months in, fell off the wagon. So I really have not had the ability to accomplish one yet. I tried real hard. I reassess. What I do is I reassess in 6 months. I adjust my so-called resolution every 6 months.
Okay. The furthest you ever been away from home on New Year's?
Overseas. I was in Germany.
You was in Germany. Okay.
I was in,
Have you ever got a puppy for Christmas?
yes, when I was really young, when I was between 5 and 10, I think it was, or 5 and 9 or something. I got a puppy for Christmas.
Oh, okay. At the New Year's Eve party, have you ever had to drive someone home, or did someone ever had to drive you home?
I've been in both situations. I had to be taken home, and I also had the opportunity to take somebody. Not the same year. Thank you. Not the same party, but one time I was was the driver. The next time I was a drivee. You know, so
Do you drink eggnog this time of the year?
no.
Have you ever dressed up or played the role of Santa to give out gifts to kids?
Yes, yes, I have.
You know, that happened to me, Vince, to this day. I still don't know how they talked me into doing that. And I had to pull one of Santa helpers over so they could pronounce these kids' names when we was giving out the prizes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't pronounce that. What's this child's
Hey,
name?
when I did that, I did it with the understanding you call the name, I'll do the ho, and I'll do the rest of it. I'll be the Santa, but you got to call the name.
While you were in the military in law enforcement, was there ever any meetings about drunk drivers during that time of the year?
Yes, we did talk about that. That was a highly sensitive topic going into that Thanksgiving right on through to probably the first of the year. We were on a heightened sense of alert, if you will, to pay attention, to try to curb it, be more in tune to the drivers out on the road more so than ever before.
Did you ever arrest anyone for drunk driving during the holidays?
I have indeed. Yes, I have. It's the funniest thing in the world to arrest him, because he said, why are you arresting me while he was wobbling across the street? I said, that's why. He said, do you know where you are? You know, I said, well, take me to your car. And he started walking the opposite direction. I was like, yeah, you need to come go with me. I said, you're not drunk, you just lost.
That's funny.
It was funny. I wish we had a phone there so I could take a picture of that. 'Cause I wanted to show him. When I asked him, I said, well, go to your car. And he said, I'm going to my car. I said, go ahead. Man, he started walking the opposite direction and wobbling his way back. I was like, come on, go to my car. You come go with me. I'll take care of you. I'll get you where you need to be.
Man, it was shoot, it was good that you got him off the road.
Well, yeah. Now, here's an experience I had. My dad lived in Miami, and when I first got out of the military, I went down to be with my dad was an alcoholic, and he used to drink and drive so much that the police knew him by name. They'd see him and put him over. They said, "Just sit there, let me call your wife," and she just shake her head and come pick him up. So he got me out there. We're riding out there, man. I know that I've exceeded my capacity to function with alcohol, and I know he get past it. He driving, and I'm sitting there just laughing because I'm thinking about, but it don't matter because I can't drive either. So we drive along, and he gets pulled over, and they just walk up and call him by name. Hey, how you doing, Oliver? And he said, I'm fine. He said, you drunk again? He said, yep, I sure am. He said, who's that? He said, that's my son. He said, why would you bring your son out there? Like, he said, well, we were just riding. He said, son, you all right? I said, no, I'm sick, man. I need for you to please get me home. They stopped giving him a ticket, which I said, that's crazy. I said, y'all need to ticket him and put him, take his license. It was almost like every weekend they see him on the road. Say, okay, come on, go with us.
Wow.
It was funny. And he never got into an accident that I'm aware of. I mean, because when he got to a certain level, he used to pull up on the side of the road anywhere. He pulled up in somebody's yard and just went to sleep. And,
wow.
and they knew him. They knew who he was. They called my stepmom. Said, hey, she said, I know he must be there. They said, yeah, he's sitting in the driveway. So, go get him. I told her, God's gonna bless you.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was funny, but it was a serious issue because he ended up having liver failure and a cirrhosis of the liver and stuff like that. But going through it and thinking back to it, as severe as it was, and it took his life. But just during that time, I mean, he toward the end he stopped drinking, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. But he did have some fun. I got to be honest about that. He had some fun drinking. He really did. And in fact, interestingly enough, Charles, he's the reason I don't drink. He stopped me from. He said, "You don't know your limits. You drink. You have too much enjoyment." He said that's not good. And I'm looking at him like, "Are you serious?" No, I'm looking at you drink. He said, "Yeah, but I've been doing this for a long time." He said, you can't do this. So he encouraged me to stop. So I stopped
Right.
drinking at a real early age. In my early 20s, I stopped drinking.
Mm.
And I was drinking heavy too. I mean, I was
Oh
drinking
wow.
heavy. But he convinced me to stop, and it probably was one of the best decisions I've ever made. One of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's um let's go over the wild cards. You got the Colts and the Texans.
Well, I really, I'm flabbergasted at this stage now, because now we got some of your better teams playing. I think the Texans beat Indianapolis. I really do.
Well, they were the talk that I heard them talking was that the Colts are kind of like even. They have a pretty good offense. They have
Yeah,
they have
and they play well,
a pretty good defense.
and they're
So
playing really well too. I mean,
right,
Luck come back and is really doing well. I just feel like Texas might get them.
Chargers and the Ravens.
That's a good one, but I think the Chargers get that. Most of I talked to a couple of other guys there. They're on the other side of that fence, man. They believe the Ravens are going to go ahead and take that, but I like the Chargers.
How you think how you think the Bears defense is going to do against the Eagles? They're looking for the Eagles to win. I mean the Bears to win this game. I'm sorry.
I'm looking.
How you think the Bears? Yeah, how you think the Bears defense is going to do against the Eagles? But they're looking for the Bears to win this game.
I'm looking for the Bears to win it too. I think that excuse me, the Eagles have really changed, picked their game up quite a bit, but the Bears are playing at such a high level right now, where the Eagles have been sputtering along and they've been winning some games, but they win them they have to struggle to win. I think the Bears really are rolling right now. I wouldn't be totally surprised if Philadelphia pulled it off, but I'm expecting the Bears to win.
Okay. The Cowboys and the Seahawks. Man, oh man.
I really think that's going to be. It may turn out than I expect, but I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously I'm going with my Cowboys, but I think it could be a much better game than probably most are thinking. And one of the things I think is to our advantage is that we're going to be healthy on the defensive side of the ball. That's going to mean an awful lot. We have not been as healthy up front at the front line, and Dak is doing a good job of distributing the football. Beasley is healthy. Elliott's coming in healthy. And if that offensive line on both our defensive lines are healthy, which the offensive lines we're getting back a couple of players there. Well, this could be a good game, but I expect the Cowboys to win.
Okay. I don't know. That's I might be picking the Seahawks on that one, then, Vince. I don't know. But I mean, I
I
wouldn't be
gotta go.
surprised if the Cowboys won, but then I wouldn't be
I gotta
surprised if
go.
Seattle, you know.
Yeah, I gotta go with them boys, man. I gotta go with them
Okay.
boys.
All right. Well, we get a chance to talk about it. We get a chance to talk about
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Looking forward to what they do. It could be interesting. It could be very interesting. Patriots got in. I didn't think they were going to make it, but not only did they get in, they got in on a bye. Now, what do you think about all these coaching changes and interviews and that are back and forth here? Got rid of 8 coaches, and a lot of the coaches that were fired are being considered or interviewing for other jobs. I looked down in my University of Miami. They Wright retires, and they go get Diaz, who had gone, I think, to Temple. He's going to come back as the head coach. So he retired one day, and they brought this guy back in. And
Right.
Diaz went in and fired offensive staff. Everybody gone. So he's going to be rebuilding. Because they did have a bad offense. Their offense was terrible.
Right. Yeah.
Um, it
And
was really,
I mean, to be honest with you, um, oh geez, why all of a sudden I can't think of his name right now. Coach from Cincinnati.
um, 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 Marvin
Right.
Lewis.
Lewis.
It was time for him to go. 16 years.
Well, I was saying, I mean, they should have got rid of him long time ago. Because I mean,
Marvin,
well, I
he
mean,
came for his effort.
but
I mean,
what I'm saying, they have been consistently that team for the last few years. What they were this past season, they've been that team the past few
well, they're worse.
years.
Yeah, they were a little bit. I think it was time. He had talked about leaving a couple of years ago, and I think he, hadn't got an extension, got it more excited or whatever. But I don't. To me, that's not quite the same as fire guy after 1 year with the Cardinals. You don't give him a 1 year and he's
Right.
gone.
Yeah.
You got rid of the guy at Denver. He had been the guy from the Jets for 3 years. But the guy with the Broncos maybe a year, 2 years. It's not enough time.
Right.
And McCarthy, I could see. Well, I could see you getting rid of McCarthy. I thought you could do it at the end of the season rather than when you did. But and then same thing, Marvin. I think Marvin 16 years. Yeah, Marvin. I mean, you want to do better, but I think he's getting to a point too where he's ready to go as well.
Mm.
Tampa Bay, they got rid of, and something else I find interesting, Charles, is they're moving coaches, but they're also moving front office people as well,
Right.
which is kind of interesting, because you're looking at some GMs they got rid of that will not they're not happy with their decision. But I still say, no matter what the sport, it takes time and team chemistry to get to the level of success that you want. And I just don't think 1 year is enough time. John Gruden gone in. Great lineage, great history, but he can't create a miracle in 1 year. It just can't happen
Right.
unless he
Right.
walked into a monster team, and that's not what he had. So now this year coming around, he gets to put his hand on something. People said he made some crazy trades, which he probably did, but I think what's going to make it not crazy is how it comes out later on. What was his end game? What is his end game?
Yeah. Well, he got another 9 years to figure it out, right?
Um, I'm not sure he has 9 years, but
No,
I give
I'm
him another
saying
4 years.
he gonna get paid for another nine
Yeah,
years,
but they're
whether
gonna
he's
pay him.
there or
Yeah,
not.
that's true. He's
So
gonna
he
get
can,
paid.
hey Vince, he can make as many stupid moves as he want to.
As long as they're paying him, I agree. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens here. I'm interested to see how they replace these guys. I see some coordinators that are being interviewed for head coaching jobs. I see some head coaches wanting to be coordinators and stuff like that. So and I think in the college ranks we're seeing a few heads roll over there as well. But the NFL more so right now. Normally, I mean they really pop their guys, man. That's pretty good. That's a lot of guys.
Right. Yeah. 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 So, woo, starting next season, we gonna see. They were saying, I was trying to think, McCartney that got fired in Green Bay.
Possibly going to the Jets.
Yeah, Jets. Yeah, Jets. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Jets.
He interviewed the Jets, which kind of makes sense. In fact, the guy from the Jets was it Van Joseph? I think he's interviewing for. Gosh, I saw that earlier and I forgot now, but I know he's interviewing for a job. The guy from the head coach they fired from
Denver.
uh,
D-
he
d-
was from Denver.
Denver. Yeah, yeah.
The Bucks head coach, he's applied for another. And what they're doing, they're just swapping coaches around. What it looks like to me, that's what they accuse the NBA of being a good old boy network, because it's interesting when you think about this now. You and I are coaching a team, and we're having bad seasons, and you fire your head coach, and then he goes and gets another head coaching job. So it
Yeah.
kind of makes you wonder, okay, so a lot of time why this guy is being fired has nothing to do with his knowledge of the game. It's just wins and losses. Sometimes it has to do with them not having control of the team anymore or having the respect of the team. That's a
But
lot of
but
times what you're.
but what's amazing to me sometimes, Vince, is that I'm not on that level, but I can see what's going on. I can see if you have talent. I can see whether or not if it's coach's decision as far as game planning and so on and so forth, or is it just you just don't have the talent? There's a big difference in observation and understanding the game. So if you understand the game and but the coach is always the downfall. So I can always blame the coach, so I can fire him. So that's the easy way. And he could be a
Well,
good coach, but if he only have this to coach, but he's
well,
always to
that's
blame.
yeah, that's the unfair part. Normally, what happens though, quite many times, they use the coach as an scapegoat. But generally, what has happened there is sometimes they don't talk about he's lost the locker room. They don't respect him anymore. They're not, he's not able to get his message across, or he's not able to control the team. And so the first thing they holler, well, we need a new voice. So, you let the coach go. They've always said it's easier to get rid of the coach than it is a player.
I
Coaches' contracts are
I
more
heard him
fragile.
talking earlier this morning about Pittsburgh and the madness that's going on there. So it's
Yeah,
it, it's a mess
I
right
want to see
now.
how that plays out. Yeah, I want to see how that plays out because what he did, in my mind, is inexcusable. That's total disrespect to the team. Yet they want to keep him. There's been no trade talk, and I understand that, but there has to be some disciplinary action for that. And I like Mike Tomlinson saying, "I'm not going to discuss that with you. That's our business." But I will tell you, it's going to be addressed, and I think that's the way you handle it. I think what
Right.
Antonio Brown thought was crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Well,
You're a
that's
paid employee. I don't care how you look at it. You're a paid employee, and you get paid to do a job. If you got a beef with somebody, I mean, you got so many mechanisms. You got an agent. And then he's going to not come to practice. And what Thomason said, which was more important than anything else, you didn't come. You didn't come to the walkthrough on Saturday. But then you call me Sunday morning and tell me, hey, I'm good. I'm good to go, and I'm just going to let you play. No, doesn't work like
mm,
that. And I'm glad he's holding his ground so far as to the decision that he made. I don't blame him. I wouldn't let him play either. You don't know the game plan. You
right.
don't know what we. And,
Mm.
and you're not indispensable. We can win without you,
Oh
or we
yeah,
can lose without you. We look at it.
you
So
will never be bigger than
that's
the
great.
sport,
No,
no
you
matter what
can't
you
be.
think.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And when that happens, you're looking for failure anyway. Failure's right around the corner.
Right. Well, all right. You got any big games coming up? High school?
Yeah, we got a big game on Tuesday. We got a big district game on Tuesday. One of our district rivals. So we'll be back on the court tomorrow, Friday, and Monday, getting ready for that. So that's a big one for us. We really need to come out real after this layoff that we've had and these two losses. We really need to kind of put it back together. So tomorrow will be the first step to trying to put the glue back together.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to give us an update next
Oh
week.
yeah, hopefully I can give you a positive update. I really want to get that. I really do.
All right. Well, I'm Charles Morris. This is the original Coach Carter, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. at www.youthcentralsports.com. We're also on Twitter and Periscope and YouTube, and Facebook. So make sure
And
you subscribe to us on
they,
YouTube, like us on Facebook. We would appreciate that. And we want to say Happy New Year to you. Hope you had
New
a
Year.
truly blessed holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and a Happy New Year. Wishing you the best of
Wishing you an awesome New
2019.
Year.
Yes.
That's right. I wish you an awesome New Year.
All right. And we're going to catch you next week. Everyone, have a blessed week.
Yeah, yeah.